Some souls are meant to walk between worlds. For thousands of years, the Avatar's spirit had reincarnated in an endless cycle, mastering the four elements and maintaining balance in a world governed by bending. But cycles can break. Universes can shift. And when the cosmic fabric tears in just the right way, even the most ancient of spirits can find itself somewhere entirely new. In a universe of gods and monsters, of super soldiers and mutants, of technology that defies comprehension and magic that predates Earth itself, the Avatar would awaken once more. But this time, there would be no air nomads to guide the journey, no water tribes to offer wisdom, no Earth kingdom to provide strength, no fire nation to teach discipline. There would only be the bewildering chaos of the Marvel Universe. And the question of what balance even means when the scales are weighted with infinite stones, magical dimensions, and beings that could reshape reality with a thought. Maya Chen had exactly 7 minutes before her intro to quantum mechanics midterm when the warehouse exploded. She'd been cutting through the industrial district near Hell's Kitchen. Stupid, her roommate would say later, incredibly stupid. But the subway was down again after another incident involving costumed people fighting in Midtown. New York had gotten weird over the past few years. The Avengers had saved the world from an alien invasion, sure, but now every third Tuesday brought some new crisis. Enhanced individuals, her professor called them. Freaks, her uncle muttered over family dinners. Heroes, the little girl Maya tutored called them with stars in her eyes. Maya just wanted to pass her midterm and maybe afford decent ramen this month. The explosion hit like a physical wall. Maya flew backward, her backpack tumbling away, textbook scattering across cracked pavement. Heat washed over her face. Her ears rang with a high-pitched whine that drowned out everything except her own hammering heartbeat. She tasted copper and smoke. Through blurred vision, she saw them, 3 men in tactical gear dragging a steel case from the burning warehouse. Not firefighters. Not cops. The symbol on their armor made her stomach twist, she'd seen it on the news. Hydra remnants, still operating in the shadows despite S.H.I.E.L.'s efforts to root them out. One of them spotted her. His rifle came up. Maya's hands moved before her mind caught up. She thrust them forward in a gesture she'd never made before, driven by an instinct that came from somewhere beyond her 19 years of life. The air itself responded. A blast of wind, impossible, furious wind. Slammed into the Hydra agent and sent him crashing through a chain-link fence. The other two stared. Maya stared at her own hands. What the hell, one of them breathed. The steel case hit the ground. It cracked open. Blue energy spilled out like liquid light, Chitauri technology, Maya's mind supplied helplessly, remembering news reports from the Battle of New York. Alien weapons that S.H.I.E.L.D. was supposed to have secured. The energy crawled toward her across the pavement, seeking, hungry. Maya scrambled backward. Her hand slapped against a puddle from last night's rain. The water erupted upward into a spiraling shield, freezing into ice crystal patterns that she somehow understood were ancient symbols she'd never learned. The Chitauri energy hit the ice and scattered into harmless sparks. Mutant, the second agent shouted, recovering. Capture her alive, she's worth more than the. The ground beneath him buckled. Concrete cracked and rose in jagged pillars that caged him in place. Maya hadn't touched the ground. She just thought about earth rising, about stone responding to her need, and it had obeyed. The third agent ran. Smart man. Maya pushed herself to her feet, legs shaking. Her hands still glowed with faint traces of elements that couldn't, exist in this world. Water dripped from her fingertips. Small stones orbited her wrists. The air shimmered with heat that came from inside her rather than the burning warehouse. Memories flooded her mind, not her memories. Lives upon lives, stretching back through time. A bald monk with arrow tattoos teaching her to feel the wind. A dark-skinned woman in the South Pole showing her the push and pull of water. A blind girl demonstrating that Earth wasn't just rock but the patient strength of existence itself. An angry prince learning that fire was life, not destruction. And beyond all of them, a presence. Ancient. Patient. Waiting for her to understand. "I'm the Avatar," Maya whispered to the empty street, testing words that felt both foreign and absolutely true. But that's impossible. The Avatar isn't real. This universe doesn't have. Sirens cut through her thoughts. Red and blue lights painted the warehouse walls. Maya looked at her hands again, at the elements still dancing across her skin, and made a decision that would change everything. She ran. Behind her, the Hydra agent trapped in stone began shouting coordinates into a comm device. Above her, a surveillance drone that belonged to neither the police nor Hydra swiveled its camera to track her movement. And in a sleek tower downtown, an artificial intelligence named Jarvis flagged the incident for immediate review, attaching a simple note to the file: "New enhanced individual detected. Powers, unknown. Threat level, undetermined." Maya didn't know it yet, but she'd just appeared on every radar that mattered. S.H.I.E.L.D. would want to understand her. The Avengers would want to recruit her. Hydra would want to weaponize her. The X-Men would want to protect her. And forces far older and stranger than any of them would want to study why the Avatar spirit, a concept that shouldn't exist in this universe at all, had chosen to reincarnate here. For now, she just ran, her feet barely touching the ground as air currents lifted her forward in a way that felt like remembered instinct. The quantum mechanics midterm was definitely missed. But Maya Chen's education in balance was just beginning, and the curriculum would be written in elements, enhanced individuals, and the question that would haunt her through everything to come. What does an avatar do in a world that doesn't understand what an avatar is? If you want to see more characters cross between universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. The balance of stories awaits. The police found the warehouse still burning and the Hydra agents unconscious 30 minutes later. They found ice sculptures that shouldn't exist in 70-degree weather, stone formations that violated every geological principle, and scorch marks that no accelerant could explain. What they didn't find was the scared college student who'd made them. Maya was already gone, disappearing into the maze of New York City with 4 elements at her fingertips and absolutely no idea what to do next. But in the shadows of the city, in towers of glass and steel, in hidden schools and secret bases, people were already asking questions. And in dimensions beyond the mortal world, entities of cosmic power were turning their attention toward Earth, sensing something that shouldn't exist crossing into their reality. The Avatar had arrived in the Marvel Universe. And nothing would ever be balanced the same way again. The S.H.I.E.L.D. Mobile Command Unit arrived at Maya's apartment 18 hours after the warehouse incident. She knew they were coming, had felt their approach through the vibrations in the building's foundations, a sense she was still getting used to. Earth spoke to her now in ways it never had before, whispering secrets through concrete and steel. Maya sat on her second-hand couch, hands wrapped around cold tea she'd forgotten to drink, and waited. Running had only delayed the inevitable. She'd spent the night in a 24-hour diner, trying to process memories that weren't hers while avoiding the news coverage of mysterious elemental disturbance in Hell's Kitchen. By morning, she'd realized something crucial: the Avatar didn't run. The Avatar faced problems head-on, sought balance, mediated conflicts. Even if this universe didn't know what an Avatar was, she couldn't escape what she'd become. The knock was polite. Professional. Maya Chen. A voice carried through the door. Male, measured, with a warmth that felt calculated to put people at ease. "My name is Phil Coulson. I'm with S.H.I.E.L.D. I'd like to talk." Maya opened the door with a gesture, using airbending to swing it inward without touching it. Might as well establish what she could do from the start. No point in pretending to be normal anymore. Agent Coulson didn't even blink. He stood in her doorway in a perfect suit, hands visible and non-threatening, with a slight smile that suggested he'd seen far stranger things than doors opening themselves. Behind him, Maya sensed two more agents in the stairwell, heartbeat steady, breathing controlled, probably armed. "That's new," Coulson said conversationally. "Shield's been tracking enhanced individuals for years, and I've never seen anyone who could manipulate air quite like that. May I come in? Do I have a choice?" "Always." He said it like he meant it. "But I think you'll want to hear what I have to say. We're not here to arrest you, Maya. We're here to understand." Maya stepped aside. Coulson entered, his gaze taking in the cramped studio apartment, textbooks on quantum mechanics and philosophy stacked on a cheap desk, instant ramen cups in the trash, a scholarship certificate from Empire State University on the wall. The life of a broke college student trying to make something of herself. "Ordinary, until yesterday." "You're not with HYDRA," Maya said. It wasn't a question. She could feel the difference. Coulson's energy was steady, honest, while the Hydra agents had radiated something twisted, corrupt. Another new sense she was still learning to trust. "Definitely not." Coulson's voice hardened slightly. "We've been tracking that cell for months. They were stealing Chitauri technology to reverse engineer weapons. You stopped them from getting away with some very dangerous hardware." He paused. "You also displayed abilities that our sensors couldn't classify. For distinct energy signatures, air manipulation, water control, geokinesis, and pyrokinesis. All from one individual. That's unprecedented." Maya sat back down, suddenly exhausted. "I don't know what I am. I mean, I do, the memories tell me, but it doesn't make sense. The Avatar shouldn't exist here. This universe doesn't have bending, doesn't have the spirit world, doesn't have any of the framework that makes the Avatar possible. But somehow." She looked at her hands. "Somehow, I am." Coulson pulled out a tablet, fingers moving across the screen. "Shield has protocols for enhanced individuals. Mutants, Inhumans, gamma radiation accidents, super soldier experiments, alien hybrids, we've seen a lot. But you're describing something different. Past lives? Reincarnation? That enters territory that's usually handled by..." He hesitated. "Other departments." "What other departments?" "The ones that deal with magic. Gods. Cosmic entities." Coulson met her eyes. "Maya, I'm going to be honest with you. Shield's mission is to protect people, both from enhanced threats and from those who would exploit enhanced individuals. You're not a threat. But you are vulnerable. Hydra now knows you exist. So do several other organizations that monitor unusual energy signatures. Within 24 hours, you'll have people trying to recruit you, study you, or eliminate you. We'd like to offer protection." Maya felt the air pressure in the room shift as her emotions fluctuated. The window rattled slightly. "Protection, or control?" "Fair question." Coulson didn't look away. "Shield has made mistakes. We've been infiltrated, compromised, and we're still rebuilding trust. I can't promise you a perfect organization. But I can promise you resources, training, and people who understand what it's like to be different. Director Fury specifically asked me to extend an invitation. Come to the playground, meet our team, let us help you figure out what you're dealing with. No contracts, no obligations. Just answers." The playground. Maya's inherited memories had no reference for it, but the name suggested a shield facility, probably underground, definitely secure. A place where she'd be safe, but also observed. Studied. The thought made her uncomfortable, but Coulson had a point. She had no training in this new reality, no understanding of how her bending would interact with technology and superpowers that defied everything her past lives had known. "What about school?" Maya asked. "I have a scholarship. Classes. A life. We can work around it." Shields helped enhanced individuals maintain their civilian identities before. "It's not easy, but it's possible." Coulson's expression softened. "Maya, I know this is overwhelming. Yesterday you were a college student. Today you're something that shouldn't exist, trying to figure out how to exist anyway. You don't have to decide right now. But let me introduce you to someone who might understand what you're going through." He tapped his tablet. The screen showed a young woman with kind eyes and distinctive gloves. Maya recognized her from news coverage. Daisy Johnson. She's an inhuman with seismic abilities. Went through her own transformation, learned to control powers that scared her, became one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s best agents. She volunteered to be your point of contact if you agreed to talk to us. Maya studied the image. Daisy Johnson looked capable, confident, but also human. Real. Not the glossy perfection of the Avengers on magazine covers, but someone who'd clearly struggled and survived. "I'll visit," Maya said finally. "But I'm not joining anything until I understand what's happening to me. And I need to know, does S.H.I.E.L.D. have information on reincarnation? On spirits? On anything that might explain why the Avatar cycle continued into a universe where it shouldn't exist?" Coulson smiled. "We have files on Thor, who's a literal god. We have files on the Sorcerer Supreme, who protects Earth from mystical threats. We have files on beings from other dimensions. If answers exist, we'll help you find them." He stood, producing a card from his jacket. "This has a secure number. Call anytime, day or night. A team will extract you if you're in danger, or just pick you up if you want to talk. Your choice, always." Maya took the card. It was surprisingly ordinary, just a phone number, no S.H.I.E.L.D. logo, nothing identifying. Plausible deniability. After Coulson left, Maya sat in silence for a long time. Through the walls, she could feel the city breathing, millions of lives, each with their own energy, their own struggles. Before, she'd been one person in that vast sea. Now, she was the Avatar, a bridge between worlds, a keeper of balance. But what did balance mean in a universe where a man in an iron suit could fly, where gods walked among mortals, where stones could grant infinite power? Her phone buzzed. A text from her roommate, *, "Where were you? Cops came by asking questions. Are you okay?" Maya started to reply, then stopped. How could she explain any of this? She was a college student who'd become the Avatar in a universe that had no context for what that meant. S.H.I.E.L.D. wanted to help her, but help came with strings. The memories of her past lives offered wisdom, but they were from a simpler world where bending was understood, where the Avatar's role was clear. Here, nothing was clear. She walked to the window, placed her palm against the glass, and felt the air currents outside. The wind whispered to her of storm systems gathering over the Atlantic, of pressure fronts colliding, of the natural order that governed weather regardless of what universe she existed in. Some things transcended reality. Elements were fundamental forces, they existed everywhere, in every dimension, following laws deeper than any cosmic stone or magical artifact. Maybe that was her answer. Maybe the Avatar spirit had reincarnated here because this universe needed someone who understood fundamental balance, who could work with the elements themselves rather than imposing artificial order through technology or magic. Or maybe she was just a scared college student trying to rationalize cosmic forces she couldn't begin to comprehend. Maya pulled out Coulson's card and the phone he'd given her. Tomorrow, she'd call. Tomorrow, she'd visit the playground and meet Daisy Johnson and start trying to understand her place in this universe. But tonight, she needed to practice. The warehouse had been instinct and panic. If she was going to survive in a world of superheroes and cosmic threats, she needed control. She moved to the center of her apartment, cleared a space, and began the breathing exercises that a bald monk named Aang had perfected 12,000 years and an entire universe ago. The air responded immediately, swirling around her in patterns that felt like coming home. Water from the bathroom sink floated through the doorway in a graceful stream. The potted plant in the corner grew an inch, responding to her connection to earth. And in her chest, a small flame kindled, not destructive, but alive. 4 elements. 1 soul. Infinite questions. The Avatar had awakened in the Marvel universe, and her education was about to truly begin. Sterile white walls, armed guards, containment cells. Instead, Coulson led her through a repurposed underground facility that felt more like a headquarters than a prison. Agents worked at holographic displays, analyzing data streams. A weapons range echoed with controlled gunfire. Somewhere in the distance, she heard laughter. Shields evolved, Coulson explained as they walked. After the Hydra infiltration, we learned we couldn't rely on secrecy and hierarchy alone. Transparency builds trust. So does treating enhanced individuals as partners rather than assets. He glanced at her. That said, we still have security protocols. Try not to take offense at the scans. Maya felt the sensors washing over her as they passed through checkpoints, electromagnetic sweeps, thermal imaging, probably energy signature analysis. Her bending responded to the intrusion by instinctively creating a thin shield of air around her body. Red lights flashed. Whoa! A woman's voice, young and surprised. She just registered as 4 different threat levels simultaneously. That's not, Coulson, what did you bring me? Daisy Johnson emerged from a side corridor, wearing tactical gear and an expression of fascinated confusion. She looked older than her file photo, with a confidence that came from hard-won experience. But her eyes held genuine curiosity rather than wariness. Daisy, meet Maya Chen. Maya, this is Agent Johnson. Just Daisy is fine. She extended a hand, then hesitated. Is it safe to touch you, or will I get, I don't know, frozen? Burned? Both? Maya couldn't help but smile. I won't hurt you. I think. She shook Daisy's hand. The contact sent a ripple of information through her earthbending sense. Daisy's skeleton vibrated at a frequency that was distinctly inhuman, resonating with potential power. You're like me. Different, but similar. Inhuman, Daisy confirmed. I can generate seismic vibrations. Quake, some people call me, though I'm still not sold on the superhero name thing. She studied Maya with the intensity of someone who understood what it meant to be transformed against your will. Coulson says you remember past lives. That you can bend all 4 elements like some kind of. She trailed off, searching for a reference. Avatar, Maya supplied. In the world I remember, the world that should exist but doesn't, there's a spirit that reincarnates across generations, mastering all 4 elements and maintaining balance. I'm that spirit, somehow, even though the framework that should make me possible doesn't exist here. Daisy's expression shifted from confusion to something like understanding. Okay, that's actually fascinating and terrifying. Come on, let's get you somewhere more comfortable than a security checkpoint. We've got a lot to talk about. They moved deeper into the facility, passing laboratories where scientists analyzed alien artifacts and training rooms where agents sparred with enhanced individuals. Maya felt elements responding to her presence, water in the pipes, earth in the foundation, air circulating through the ventilation system, electrical fires in the generators. Everything connected, just like in her memories. The universe might be different, but the fundamental forces remained constant. Daisy led her to a briefing room with a holographic display table. She tapped a control, and images filled the air, footage from the warehouse, energy signatures, analysis reports. This is what S.H.I.E.L.D. picked up when you manifested, Daisy explained. For distinct power sources, each operating independently but in perfect harmony. The air manipulation registered as Class 4 atmospheric control. Water control showed hydrokinetic capability at molecular level. The earth stuff? She whistled. You restructured concrete at the atomic level. That's not telekinesis, you actually commanded the material to change. And the fire? She pulled up thermal imaging. You generated plasma without any visible fuel source. Maya, individually, each of these abilities would make you one of the most powerful enhanced individuals on Earth. Together? She met Maya's eyes. You're in a category we don't have classification for. Maya felt her stomach tighten. I'm not trying to be a weapon. Nobody thinks you are. Coulson entered the room carrying coffee and what looked like research files. But others might see you that way. Hydra already does. We intercepted communications suggesting they've put a 7-figure bounty on your capture. The Advanced Idea Mechanics Group is interested. And according to our mystical consultants, the Ancient One herself has taken notice. The Ancient One? Maya's past lives stirred with recognition, though not of the name. Ancient masters, mystical traditions, every era had them. Who is she? Sorcerer Supreme. Protector of Earth from mystical threats. Based in Nepal, commands forces that make our technology look like stone knives. Coulson set down the files. She sent a message through channels that took us 3 days to verify were real. Said, and I quote, "The will turns in unexpected ways. The child of balance must learn which path leads to harmony and which to chaos." Then she vanished before our agents could make contact. Maya absorbed this. She knows what I am. She knows something, Daisy corrected. Whether that's what you are or what you might become is unclear. But here's what we know for certain. She brought up a new hologram, a map of New York with dozens of red markers. Since your awakening, we've detected unusual elemental activity across the city. Small stuff, sudden wind gusts, water mains freezing without cause, electrical fires that burn without fuel. Nothing catastrophic, but all concentrated around locations you've been. I'm causing that? Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. I'm not trying to. We don't think it's intentional, Coulson said quickly. More like, environmental response. You're a nexus point for elemental energy now. The elements react to your presence, your emotions, your unconscious thoughts. It's not your fault, but it is something we need to help you control. Maya looked at her hands. In her past lives, bending had been a discipline learned through years of training. Masters guided students through forms, meditation, philosophy. Here, she'd awakened with full power but minimal control, like giving a child access to forces that could reshape continents. I need training, she said quietly. Real training. Not just controlling my abilities, but understanding them. In my memories, the Avatar learned from masters of each element, people who dedicated their lives to philosophy and practice. Where do I even start in a world where those traditions don't exist? Daisy and Coulson exchanged glances. Something unspoken passed between them. That's complicated, Daisy said finally. S.H.I.E.L.D. can help with the basics. Meditation, emotional control, tactical application. I can teach you about managing power that scares you, because trust me, I've been there. But for deeper understanding? She hesitated. There are other groups. The X-Men have experience training mutants with elemental abilities. The Avengers have Thor, who understands cosmic forces beyond human comprehension. And then there's Doctor Strange, who works with mystical energies that might be closer to what you're experiencing. Each option comes with complications, Coulson added. The X-Men are in a difficult position politically, mutant rights are a powder keg right now, and associating with them could paint a target on your back. The Avengers are high profile, joining them means giving up any semblance of normal life. And Doctor Strange? He frowned. He's powerful, but his world is dangerous in ways we don't fully understand. Dark dimensions, cosmic entities, bargains with forces that terrify me. Maya stood, moving to the holographic display. She touched the air, and the projection responded, swirling around her fingers like smoke. What if I don't join any of them? What if I train on my own, figure this out myself? Then you'll make mistakes, Daisy said bluntly. Possibly catastrophic ones. I tried the lone wolf approach when I first got my powers. Nearly brought down a building because I didn't understand my own strength. You're dealing with forces that could level cities, Maya. You need guidance. But it has to be the right guidance, Maya countered. The Avatar's purpose is balance. Not just personal balance, but maintaining equilibrium in the world. If I align myself with one faction, Avengers, X-Men, S.H.I.E.L.D., I become part of their agenda. I stop being neutral. Coulson nodded slowly. You're thinking like a mediator, not a soldier. That's actually mature beyond your years. But here's the reality, neutrality is a luxury in this world. Threats don't wait for you to find enlightenment. Hydra is hunting you now. Other groups will follow. You need protection, even if it's just until you can protect yourself. Maya closed her eyes, reaching for the wisdom of her past lives. She felt Aang's gentle guidance, urging her toward compassion and understanding. Korra's fierce determination to fight for what's right, even against overwhelming odds. Roku's hard-earned knowledge that balance sometimes required difficult choices. And deeper still, voices from avatars whose names she couldn't quite remember, stretching back through millennia. They all agreed on one thing, the Avatar walked their own path, but never alone. I'll accept S.H.I.E.L.D.'s protection for now, Maya said, opening her eyes. And I'll work with Daisy on basic control. But I need to meet with all of them, the X-Men, the Avengers, Doctor Strange. I need to understand this universe's power structures before I decide where I fit. The Avatar doesn't serve one master or one agenda. If I'm going to be what I'm meant to be here, I have to forge my own path. Daisy grinned. I like her. She's got spine. She's going to give Fury a headache, Coulson muttered, but he was smiling. All right, Maya. We'll arrange meetings. But in the meantime, you're staying here. We have quarters for enhanced individuals, comfortable, private, and secure. Tomorrow, Daisy starts teaching you control. And tonight. He pulled out the last file. Tonight, you're going to read every report S.H.I.E.L.D. has on mystical phenomena, cosmic entities, and reality-warping events. If you want to understand this universe, you need to know just how strange it really is. Maya took the file. It was thick, years of accumulated knowledge about a universe far more complex and dangerous than anything her past lives had faced. No simple nations competing for power. Instead, gods, aliens, dimensional invaders, beings that could reshape reality itself. The Avatar had maintained balance in a world of bending. Could she maintain balance in a world of infinite possibilities? She didn't know. But she was going to try. As Coulson and Daisy led her to her new quarters, Maya felt the playground's foundation settle slightly beneath her feet, Earth recognizing her presence, accepting her. Water in distant pipes flowed a little smoother. 3 days of S.H.I.E.L.D. training taught Maya more about her limitations than her capabilities. The facility's power grid, Daisy pushed her through exercises designed to isolate her emotional responses from her bending, with mixed results. Now the rest of the universe needed to learn what that meant. Create intricate water sculptures and lift stone columns with precision. When frustrated, she accidentally flash froze an entire training room and had to spend 2 hours thawing it with carefully controlled fire. You're getting better, Daisy said, though she was wrapped in a thermal blanket after the freezing incident. At least you're not causing earthquakes anymore. That was one time, Maya protested. And you told me to really feel the earth. I meant metaphorically. Despite the chaos, Maya was learning. Bending in the Marvel Universe operated on the same fundamental principles as in her memories, but the energy signatures were different. This universe had background radiation from infinity stones, dimensional rifts, and countless superhuman events that had warped reality's baseline. Her earth-bending could sense vibranium deposits beneath the African continent. Her waterbending detected alien particles in New York's water supply. The elements here carried echoes of cosmic intervention. On the fourth day, Coulson summoned her to a conference room. Inside, waiting with coffee and a slightly nervous expression, sat a woman in a sharp business suit. Maya, this is Pepper Potts. She's the CEO of Stark Industries and... Coulson paused. She's here on behalf of Tony Stark. Pepper smiled, though her eyes assessed Maya with businesslike precision. The Avengers would like to meet you. Tony's been monitoring S.H.I.E.L.D.'s reports. Don't look at Coulson like that, they have an arrangement, and he's curious. We all are. Maya's stomach fluttered with nerves that had nothing to do with bending. The Avengers. Earth's mightiest heroes. She'd seen them on television, read about them in articles, watched footage of the Battle of New York a dozen times. Now they wanted to meet her. Why? Maya asked. I'm just figuring out my abilities. I'm not ready to fight aliens or save the world. Nobody's asking you to, Pepper assured her. But Tony has questions. Scientific questions about how your abilities work, whether they're similar to Thor's elemental manipulation, how they interact with technology. Captain Rogers wants to understand the reincarnation aspect, he's got experience with unusual circumstances. And Natasha. Pepper's smile became slightly sharper. Natasha wants to make sure you're not a threat. I'm not a threat, Maya said automatically. Then prove it. Come to the tower. Meet the team. Let us help you understand what you are. Pepper leaned forward. Maya, S.H.I.E.L.D. can teach you control. But the Avengers can offer you something else, perspective. We're used to dealing with gods, aliens, and reality-warping events. Whatever you are, whatever caused you to manifest here, we've probably seen something similar. Coulson nodded. It's your choice. But I'd recommend taking the meeting. The Avengers are intense, but they're good people. And having them on your side is better than having them suspicious. Maya thought about it. The Avatar's role was to maintain balance, which required understanding all factions. She couldn't mediate conflicts if she didn't know the players. Okay, she said. I'll meet them. But I'm not joining anything. I'm just listening. That's all we ask. Pepper stood, collecting her briefcase. Tomorrow, noon. Daisy will escort you. Dress casual, Tony responds better to people who aren't trying to impress him. After Pepper left, Maya turned to Coulson. Are the Avengers going to try to recruit me? Absolutely, Coulson said without hesitation. They're always looking for new members, especially ones with unique abilities. But they're not going to pressure you. Well, Tony might pressure you. But the others will keep him in check. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She sat cross-legged in her quarters, practicing meditation techniques from a dozen past lives, trying to center herself. Tomorrow, she'd meet Earth's mightiest heroes. People who'd fought gods and saved the world. What did she have to offer them? She was just a college student who'd been thrown into circumstances she didn't understand. But she was also the Avatar. And the Avatar had faced impossible situations before. She reached for water from the bathroom, bending it into a perfect sphere that floated in the air before her. Through the water, she could see distorted reflections, not her face, but the faces of her past lives. Aang, smiling encouragingly. Korra, fist raised in determination. Roku, solemn and wise. And others, stretching back through time, all of them whispering the same message. You are not alone. You have never been alone. Trust in the cycle, asterisk. Maya released the water, letting it settle back into its container. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, she was at peace. The next day, Stark Tower loomed over Midtown Manhattan like a monument to human ambition and ego in roughly equal measure. Maya stood on the sidewalk, staring up at the gleaming structure, while Daisy chuckled beside her. Yeah, it's a lot. Wait until you see the inside. Tony's not exactly subtle about his style. They entered through a private entrance, bypassing the public lobby. An artificial intelligence greeted them immediately, smooth British accent, polite but alert. Agent Johnson, Miss Chen. Welcome to Stark Tower. Mr. Stark is expecting you in the common area. Please proceed to elevator 3. That's Jarvis, Daisy explained as they rode up. Tony's AI. He's actually pretty cool once you get used to the omniscient surveillance thing. The elevator opened onto a floor that defied Maya's expectations. Instead of corporate sterility, she found a surprisingly comfortable living space, plush couches, a full kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. And standing around a holographic display, arguing about something technical, were the Avengers. Tony Stark noticed them first. He looked exactly like his media appearances, goatee, arc reactor glowing through his shirt, expression of perpetual amusement tinged with genius-level intelligence. Ah, our mystery guest. Maya Chen, the girl who can do everything I do with my suits using only her hands. That's both impressive and deeply insulting to my engineering. He approached with the confidence of someone who'd never met a situation he couldn't talk his way through. Tony Stark. But you knew that. Everyone knows that. Maya Chen, she replied, shaking his offered hand. But you knew that. Tony's grin widened. Oh, I like her. She's got sass. Cap, she's got sass. Captain America emerged from behind the holographic display, and Maya's breath caught. Steve Rogers looked like his pictures, tall, impossibly fit, with kind eyes that had seen too much, but his presence was something else. Authority without arrogance. Strength without aggression. He extended a hand. Steve Rogers. Pleased to meet you, Maya. Tony's been driving us crazy with theories about your abilities for 3 days. Legitimate scientific theories, Tony interjected. Jarvis, show her the models. The holographic display shifted, showing complex energy signatures that supposedly represented Maya's bending. Tony launched into an explanation involving quantum entanglement, elemental manipulation at the molecular level, and something about resonance frequencies that shouldn't exist in standard physics. Maya understood maybe half of it. Her quantum mechanics education helped, but Tony operated on a level that made her professors look like kindergarten teachers. Tony, a woman's voice cut through his lecture. You're overwhelming her. Natasha Romanoff stepped forward, Black Widow, legendary spy, one of the most dangerous humans on Earth according to S.H.I.E.L.D. files. She studied Maya with eyes that missed nothing. You're not a mutant, Natasha said. It wasn't a question. Your abilities aren't genetic. And you're not inhuman, no Terrigen exposure. So what are you? Maya met her gaze steadily. I'm the Avatar. A spirit that reincarnates across generations, mastering all 4 elements and maintaining balance. I shouldn't exist in this universe. But somehow, I do. Silence fell. The Avengers exchanged glances. Reincarnation, Steve said slowly. You remember past lives? Thousands of years of them. Different people, different eras, but the same essential purpose, keep the world in balance. Maya gestured to the city beyond the windows. Except this world doesn't have the framework that makes the avatar possible. No spirit world. No original benders. No history of elemental manipulation. Just me, trying to figure out why I exist. Tony's expression shifted from amused to intensely curious. That's actually fascinating. A cosmic glitch? Dimensional bleed-through? Or maybe... His eyes lit up. Maybe your presence here isn't an accident. Maybe this universe needed an avatar and found a way to create one. That's terrifying, Natasha said flatly. If the universe itself is manipulating events to introduce new elements, pardon the pun, then we're dealing with forces beyond our understanding. We're always dealing with forces beyond our understanding, Steve countered. That's never stopped us before. He turned to Maya. You said your purpose is balance. What does that mean, exactly? Maya considered her answer carefully. In my memories, the Avatar mediated conflicts between nations. Stopped wars before they started. Prevented any one power from dominating others. But that was in a simpler world with 4 nations and straightforward politics. Here. She gestured helplessly. Here, you have gods, aliens, mutants, enhanced individuals, secret organizations, and cosmic entities all competing for influence. What does balance even mean in a universe this complex? That, Steve said quietly, is exactly the right question. Tony pulled up another display, a map of Earth with countless markers indicating superhuman activity. The world's changing fast. More enhanced individuals every year. More threats. More complexity. Traditional power structures can't handle it. That's why the Avengers exist, to stand between Earth and whatever wants to destroy it. But we're reactive, not proactive. We fight threats after they emerge. You're talking about preventing conflicts before they escalate. That's... He paused, unusually serious. That's something we need. So you want to recruit me, Maya said. We want to work with you, Steve corrected. There's a difference. The Avengers are a team, but we're not a prison. You'd have autonomy, resources, training. And you'd have backup when you need it. Maya felt the weight of the offer. Joining the Avengers would give her legitimacy, protection, and purpose. But it would also align her with one faction in a universe full of competing powers. Would the X-Men trust an avatar who worked with the Avengers? Would mystic traditions see her as compromised? Would governments view her as a weapon rather than a mediator? I need to think about it, Maya said. And I need to meet other groups first. The X-Men. Doctor Strange. I can't make this decision without understanding all my options. Tony started to argue, but Steve cut him off. That's fair. Take your time. The offer stands whenever you're ready. Natasha spoke up. One more thing. Shield's protecting you now, but protection has limits. Hydra's not the only group hunting enhanced individuals. There are forces that would see you as a threat simply because you exist. If you walk this path, avatar, mediator, keeper of balance, you'll make enemies. I know, Maya said quietly. Balance requires opposing forces. You can't have harmony without discord. I'm prepared for that. Are you? Natasha's gaze was penetrating. Because preparation means more than good intentions. It means hard choices. Moral compromises. Sacrifices you can't take back. Your past lives might give you wisdom, but this universe will test you in ways they never imagined. Maya felt the truth of those words settle in her chest like a stone. She'd been so focused on understanding her powers and finding her purpose that she hadn't fully considered the cost. The Avatar maintained balance, but balance wasn't peace. It was constant negotiation between opposing forces, each convinced of their own righteousness. Then I'll learn, Maya said. And I'll find people who understand that balance isn't the same as neutrality. It's active engagement with all sides, listening to every voice, making decisions that serve the greater good even when they're unpopular. Steve smiled, a real smile, warm and approving. When you're ready, the Avengers will be here. Until then, stay safe. And Maya? He met her eyes. Trust your instincts. Past lives can guide you, but you're not them. You're your own person, facing your own challenges. Don't let anyone, including us, tell you who you have to be. As Daisy led Maya back to the elevator, Tony called out one last comment. Also, if you ever want to talk science, my door's open. I've got theories about elemental manipulation that would blow your mind. Literally. There might be explosions. It's fine. In the elevator descending back to ground level, Daisy nudged Maya. So? What do you think? Maya watched the city rise to meet them through the glass elevator walls. Millions of people, each with their own struggles. And somewhere out there, forces she didn't yet understand were watching. The X-Mansion to see what the Avatar would become something from a Gothic universe, sprawling grounds, I think ivy-covered walls, said slowly, and an atmosphere this is going to be a lot harder than any of my past lives ever faced. Maya felt the earth beneath her feet shift slightly as the limousine passed through the gates, ancient stone foundations responding to her presence with whispered recognition. Nervous? Daisy asked from beside her. SHIELD had insisted on escort duty, citing diplomatic protocols between organizations that barely trusted each other. Terrified, Maya admitted. The Avengers were intimidating, but they're public figures. I knew what to expect. The X-Men are. She struggled for words. They're fighting a war most people don't even acknowledge exists. Mutant rights had dominated news cycles for years, debates about registration, discrimination disguised as safety concerns, fear-mongering about genetic threats. Maya had watched it from the comfortable distance of someone who assumed she was human. Now, standing at the gates of Xavier's school for gifted youngsters, she understood how naive that distance had been. She wasn't human anymore. She was something else. And in this universe, being different meant being dangerous. Professor Charles Xavier waited on the front steps in his wheelchair, flanked by two figures Maya recognized from news coverage. Storm, Aurora Monroe, stood with regal bearing, white hair framing dark skin, eyes that literally sparked with atmospheric energy. Beside her, Wolverine, Logan, radiated barely contained violence, his posture suggesting he'd rather be anywhere else. Miss Chen. Xavier's voice carried warmth and something else. A pressure against Maya's mind, gentle but unmistakable. He was trying to read her thoughts. Welcome to my school. I hope you'll forgive my curiosity, it's not every day we encounter someone whose mind contains multitudes. Maya felt the mental touch like water lapping at the shores of her consciousness. Her waterbending instincts kicked in automatically, creating a barrier of flowing thought that deflected Xavier's probe without aggression. Just steady, patient resistance. Xavier's eyebrows rose. Fascinating. You've never had telepathic training, yet you defend yourself with remarkable sophistication. Past lives, Maya explained, stepping from the limousine. Apparently some of them dealt with spirit-based mental intrusion. The instincts transferred. She met his gaze directly. I'd appreciate if you didn't try that again without permission, Professor. Logan snorted. Kid's got backbone. I like her already. Storm descended the steps with liquid grace. We've read SHIELD's reports about you. An avatar, a being from another universe's mythology, manifesting here with impossible powers. She studied Maya with eyes that had seen decades of mutant struggles. Tell me, Miss Chen, do you consider yourself mutant? Or something else? The question carried weight beyond its words. Maya understood what Storm was really asking, are you one of us, or are you claiming to be above us? I don't know what I am, Maya said honestly. I'm not a mutant, my abilities aren't genetic. I'm not inhuman. I'm not enhanced by technology or experiments. She took a breath. I'm the Avatar. A spirit that reincarnates to maintain balance. But I'm also Maya Chen, a 19-year-old college student from Queens who had a normal life until 4 days ago. I don't have all the answers. I'm just trying to understand my place in this universe. Xavier nodded slowly. An honest answer. Come inside, Maya. Let's discuss what balance means in a world that fears difference. The mansion's interior was beautiful, hardwood floors, classical architecture, but adapted with technology that suggested the 21st century. More importantly, Maya sensed life everywhere. Children's laughter echoed from distant classrooms. Teenagers practiced in a training facility below ground. The entire building thrummed with young energy, mutant abilities manifesting in dozens of unique signatures. Xavier led them to his study, a room lined with books and dominated by a large desk. Through the windows, Maya watched students on the lawn. A girl with blue skin demonstrating gymnastics, a boy creating ice sculptures, another phasing through walls. My school serves many purposes, Xavier explained, settling behind his desk. Education, certainly. But also sanctuary. These children have been rejected by families, hunted by hate groups, targeted by organizations that see them as weapons or threats. Here, they learn to control their abilities and understand they're not monsters. Which is why we're careful about outsiders, Logan added, leaning against the wall with arms crossed. You say you want balance, kid. But balance between what? Between humans who want us registered like weapons and mutants who just want to live. Between governments that see us as threats and hate groups that want us dead. Maya felt the anger beneath his words, not directed at her, but at a world that had given him plenty of reasons for fury. I don't have easy answers. But I know that division only leads to more conflict. If mutants and humans see each other as enemies, if enhanced individuals fragment into competing factions, everyone loses. Pretty words, Storm said. But the Avatar tradition comes from a world with clear divisions, for nations, for elements, straightforward conflicts. This world is messy. Humans fear what they don't understand. Politicians exploit that fear. And mutants like us. Her eyes sparked with lightning. We're caught between wanting acceptance and knowing we may never receive it. Xavier raised a hand gently. Ororo speaks from experience, but let's not overwhelm our guest with pessimism. Maya, I invited you here for several reasons. First, to understand your abilities and ensure you're not a threat to my students. Second, to offer our resources. We have extensive experience training individuals with elemental powers. And third. He paused, choosing words carefully. To determine whether the Avatar could be an ally to mutant kind. There it was. The ask beneath the welcome. You want me to advocate for mutant rights, Maya said. I want you to see us as people worthy of balance, Xavier corrected. The Avatar maintains equilibrium between competing forces. But equilibrium requires recognizing when scales are unjustly weighted. Mutants didn't ask for their abilities. They're born different, then punished for that difference. If you truly believe in balance, you'll see the injustice. Maya walked to the window, watching the students below. A girl with wings soared overhead, laughing with pure joy. Another student made flowers bloom with a touch. Abilities that could be beautiful, celebrated, if the world wasn't so afraid. I see it, Maya said quietly. But I also see complexity. Some mutants have used their powers to hurt people. Magneto's Brotherhood has killed humans. There are legitimate reasons for fear, even if that fear is being exploited. Logan's claws extended with a metallic snicked, careful, kid. Logan. Xavier's voice carried command. The claws retracted. Maya turned back to face them. I'm not saying mutants deserve persecution. I'm saying that if I'm going to maintain balance, I have to acknowledge all perspectives, even the ones I disagree with. Yes, mutants deserve rights and protection. But humans deserve to feel safe too. The solution isn't taking sides. It's finding ways for both groups to coexist. Coexistence. Storm's voice dripped with bitter experience. We've tried coexistence. It usually ends with mutant blood on the streets and humans claiming self-defense. Then we try harder, Maya said with more confidence than she felt. The Avatar's greatest power isn't bending, it's bringing people together. I know I'm new to this universe. I know I don't fully understand the history. But maybe that's an advantage. I can see both sides without decades of trauma influencing my judgment. Xavier studied her with an intensity that made Maya aware of how powerful he truly was. A telepath who could kill every person on Earth if he chose. A man who dedicated his life to peaceful coexistence despite endless setbacks. You remind me of myself, Xavier said finally. Decades ago, when I still believed idealism alone could change the world. I hope you maintain that optimism longer than I did. He wheeled forward slightly. Maya, I won't ask you to join the X-Men or formally ally with mutants. But I will ask you to remember what you've seen here. These children deserve a future. Whatever balance you create in this universe, make sure it includes them. I will, Maya promised. But I need something in return. Training. Your school has experience teaching elemental manipulation. Storm controls weather. Iceman creates ice. Others manipulate earth, fire, energy. I need to learn from people who understand what I'm doing, even if the source of our powers differs. Storm and Xavier exchanged glances. Some silent communication passed between them. We can arrange training sessions, Storm said. But understand, you'll be learning alongside students who face discrimination, violence, and loss because of their abilities. If you're going to train here, you'll see the reality of what mutants endure. You can't maintain naive neutrality once you've witnessed injustice firsthand. I don't want naive neutrality, Maya said. I want informed balance. There's a difference. Logan pushed off the wall. All right, enough philosophy. Let's see what you can actually do, kid. I want to know if your bending can stand up to someone who doesn't play nice. Xavier sighed. Logan, she's not here for combat assessment. Yeah, she is. Logan's grin was predatory. Everyone who comes through here gets tested. How else do we know what she's capable of? Besides, I'm curious if ancient spirit magic beats a healing factor and adamantium claws. Maya felt her past lives stir with recognition. Every era had warriors like Logan, people who respected strength and tested newcomers to establish hierarchy. Aang would have tried to talk his way out. Korra would have accepted immediately. Maya was somewhere in between. One round, she said. Non-lethal. And if I win, you help with my training personally. Logan's grin widened. Deal. And when I win, you buy beer for the staff. We're gonna need it dealing with another idealistic kid who thinks she can save the world. They moved to the danger room, a massive training facility that could simulate any environment. Storm programmed a basic arena, open space, neutral ground, no environmental advantages. Maya stood at one end, centering herself with breathing techniques from a dozen lifetimes. Logan stood opposite, claws extended, posture relaxed but ready. Rules are simple, Storm announced from the observation deck. First one incapacitated or yielding loses. Logan, remember she's a guest. Try not to traumatize her. No promises. Logan's claws gleamed. The simulation began. Logan moved with predatory speed, closing the distance in seconds. Maya didn't try to match his speed, instead, she raised a wall of earth between them. Logan's claws shredded through stone, but the delay gave Maya time to sweep her arms in a wide arc. Water materialized from the air itself, condensed from humidity, and wrapped around Logan's legs in a freezing grip. He broke free with a snarl, ice shattering. Cute trick. Maya backpedaled, using airbending to propel herself away. She learned quickly, Logan's healing factor meant she couldn't hurt him with traditional attacks. She needed to restrain him, contain him, use his aggression against him. Fire bloomed in her palms. Not to burn, but to create smoke. Thick clouds filled the arena, obscuring vision. Logan's senses were sharp, but smoke was smoke. Maya moved through the haze like a ghost, feeling his position through earth sense, the vibrations of his heartbeat, the weight of his adamantium skeleton. She struck from behind with a precision water whip that froze on contact, encasing his arms. Logan spun, breaking the ice again, but Maya was already moving. Earth rose around his feet. Air pressure built around his head, not enough to suffocate, but enough to disorient. Not bad. Logan's voice carried grudging respect. But you're holding back. Stop fighting like you're scared of hurting me, Anne. Maya created a vortex of wind, water, earth, and flame simultaneously. 4 elements moving in perfect harmony, combining into a technique no single bender from her past lives could have achieved alone. The avatar state flickered at the edges of her consciousness, offering more power, but she held it back. This wasn't a life-or-death battle. This was a test. Logan charged through the elemental storm. His healing factor dealt with minor burns and cuts. But Maya had learned something important: she didn't need to hurt him. She just needed to stop him. She slammed her foot down. The earth beneath Logan liquefied, advanced earthbending that turned solid ground into quicksand. He sank up to his chest before it resolidified, trapping him in place. Silence fell. Logan struggled, but adamantium-laced bones made him heavy. The earth held firm. You gonna let me out, or do I have to wait for the simulation to end? Logan's tone was amused rather than angry. Maya released him with a gesture. Earth flowed like water, depositing Logan back on solid ground. He retracted his claws, rolling his shoulders. All right, kid. You earned that beer money. He extended a hand. Welcome to the X-Mansion. Try not to let the idealism get you killed. Maya shook his hand, feeling the calluses of someone who'd fought more battles than she could imagine. I'll do my best. From the observation deck, Xavier's voice carried approval. Impressive, Maya. You adapted to Logan's fighting style quickly. That suggests tactical intelligence beyond your years, or perhaps beyond your current life. Storm descended to the arena floor. You have power, Maya Chen. And you have control, which is rarer. But power and control aren't enough. You need understanding of yourself, your abilities, and the world you're trying to balance. We'll help you develop that understanding. But in return, I want you to keep your eyes open. See what mutants face. And when the time comes to choose what balance means, remember what you witnessed here. Maya nodded. I will. I promise. As Daisy drove her back to the playground that evening, Maya reflected on the day. The X-Men had tested her, challenged her assumptions, and offered training in exchange for awareness. They weren't asking her to join their cause, not exactly. But they were asking her to see them, really see them, and understand that balance couldn't mean maintaining a status quo built on injustice. It was more complicated than she'd expected. More personal. The Avatar's role had always involved politics and power, but here in the Marvel Universe, those abstractions had faces. Precisely when Maya had started to feel safe learning to read. She'd settled into a routine with tragic pasts, fighting morning meditation, training sessions with Daisy, teachers dedicating their lives to protecting students the world called monsters and mystical phenomena. Balance wasn't just about elements anymore. She practiced bending in a specialized chamber that could withstand elemental chaos. And Maya was beginning to understand that maintaining balance might require learning to separate her emotions from her power, understanding how this universe's physics interacted with her abilities. Then Hydra reminded her that safety was an illusion. The first sign was the lights. They flickered once, twice, then died completely. Emergency systems should have kicked in immediately. The playground had redundancies upon redundancies. But darkness held for 3 full seconds, and in those seconds, Maya felt something wrong through her earthbending. Vibrations in the foundation. Movement where there should be none. Breach. Someone shouted in the distance. Alarms blared. Red emergency lights finally activated, casting everything in hellish crimson. Maya rolled out of bed, already moving toward the door. Her training with Daisy had included emergency protocols. Get to the safe room, let SHIELD agents handle threats, don't play hero. But her earthbending sensed at least 20 hostiles moving through the facility with tactical precision, heading directly toward her quarters. They weren't here for SHIELD intelligence or technology. They were here for her. The door to her quarters exploded inward. Maya barely had time to raise an earth barrier before bullets tore through the space where she'd been standing. Not ordinary bullets. These sparked with blue energy. Chitauri rounds, designed to penetrate enhanced durability. Target acquired. A modulated voice called out. Deploy the containment field. 4 Hydra operatives rushed through the smoke, armed with weapons that hummed with alien technology. Behind them, something larger moved, a mechanized suit, 7 feet tall, bristling with weapons that specifically countered elemental abilities. Fire suppressant systems. Electrical discharge arrays. Sonic disruptors calibrated to interrupt water molecule manipulation. They'd studied her. Prepared for her. And now they were here to take her. Maya's fear crystallized into focus. The avatar state brushed against her consciousness, offering unlimited power, but she pushed it back. She didn't need cosmic strength. She needed control. Water from the sprinkler system answered her call, forming a defensive sphere around her body. The Hydra operatives fired into the water. Bullets slowed, became visible, stopped entirely. Maya spun the water sphere, creating a vortex that caught the Chitauri rounds and spat them back with twice the force. One operative went down. The others adapted, spreading out, flanking her. The mechanized suit stomped forward. Surrender, Avatar. Hydra has use for your abilities. Resist, and we'll take you in pieces to study later. Maya's answer was to slam her foot down. The floor buckled, sending cracked spiderwebbing across concrete. Earth rose in jagged spears, forcing the operatives to dive for cover. But the mechanized suit barely slowed, its feet had been designed for unstable terrain, magnetic locks anchoring it to metal support beams beneath the floor. Clever, the pilot's voice crackled. But insufficient. Fire suppressant foam sprayed from the suit's shoulder cannons, coating Maya's water sphere. The foam was designed to neutralize chemical fires. It wouldn't stop her bending, but it created a barrier between her and accessible water. The Hydra tacticians had done their homework. Maya shifted tactics. Air was everywhere, couldn't be contained or blocked. She thrust her arms forward, sending a concentrated blast of wind that caught the mechanized suit center mass. It staggered backward, servos whining in protest. Sonic countermeasures, the pilot commanded. High-pitched frequencies erupted from the suit, calibrated to disrupt inner ear balance and concentration. Maya felt the world spin, her connection to air wavering. The Hydra operatives used the distraction to advance, launching a net made of some metallic weave that crackled with electricity. The net wrapped around Maya, and electricity surged through her body. Pain exploded across every nerve. She screamed, falling to her knees, and for a moment, the avatar state nearly took over completely. She felt the presence of all her past lives surging forward, ready to obliterate the threat with overwhelming force. No. She couldn't lose control. Couldn't become a weapon. Through the pain, Maya found her center. Lightning was fire's cousin, wild, destructive, but ultimately just another form of energy. Her fire-bending instincts recognized it, understood it. Instead of fighting the electricity, she absorbed it, channeling it through her body the way Iroh had once taught a young prince in a life she remembered but had never lived. The electricity didn't stop, but it no longer hurt. Maya stood, the net still wrapped around her, now glowing with redirected energy. She raised her hands, and lightning answered, not from the net, but from within her, fire-bending pushed to its ultimate expression. That's not possible, the mechanized suit's pilot breathed. You studied the Avatar, Maya said, her voice carrying power from a dozen lifetimes. But you didn't understand what that means. She released the lightning in a controlled burst that fried the net's circuitry and sent arcs dancing across the HYDRA operative's armor. Their suits sparked and died. The mechanized suit's targeting systems flickered offline. Then S.H.I.E.L.D. arrived. Daisy burst through the damaged doorway, hands glowing with seismic energy. She took in the scene, Maya standing amid unconscious Hydra operatives, electricity still crackling around her body, eyes glowing with power she was barely restraining. Maya, stand down. You're safe. Maya released the lightning, let the glow fade from her eyes. Her legs gave out, and Daisy caught her before she hit the ground. They were ready for me, Maya gasped. Weapons designed to counter bending. They knew exactly what I could do. Hydra's been monitoring S.H.I.E.L.D. communications. Coulson appeared behind Daisy, weapon drawn, scanning for additional threats. We suspected they had infiltrators in our systems. This confirms it. He spoke into his comm, facility lockdown. I want every inch of the playground swept for Hydra agents and surveillance tech. And get me a casualty report. The casualty report came in minutes later. 2 S.H.I.E.L.D. agents wounded, 5 Hydra operatives captured, 3 dead. The mechanized suit's pilot had triggered a cyanide capsule before agents could extract him, standard Hydra protocol. They'd rather die than risk interrogation. Maya sat in the medical bay while doctors checked her for injuries. The electricity had left burn patterns across her skin, but nothing permanent. She'd heal. The psychological damage was another matter. They'll keep coming, Maya said to Coulson, who'd stayed with her through the examination. Hydra, and others like them. I'm too valuable as a weapon. Which is why S.H.I.E.L.D's upgrading your protection, Coulson replied. Safe house rotation, personal security detail, enhanced surveillance. We're not letting this happen again. That's not a solution. That's just delaying the inevitable. Maya looked at her hands, still trembling slightly from adrenaline. I can't spend my life running from people who want to use me. The Avatar isn't meant to hide. I need to be strong enough that attacking me becomes pointless. Daisy, leaning against the wall with arms crossed, spoke up. You were strong enough tonight. You took down 4 operatives and a mechanized assault suit by yourself. That's not weakness, Maya. But I almost lost control, Maya admitted quietly. The Avatar state was right there, offering unlimited power. If I'd let it take over, I could have killed everyone in this facility. S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, Hydra operatives, everyone. She met their eyes. That's the danger I represent. Not just to enemies, but to everyone around me if I can't maintain perfect control. Coulson exchanged a glance with Daisy. We need to accelerate your training. The Avengers offered resources. The X-Men offered technique. But what you're describing, learning to control cosmic-level power, that's beyond what S.H.I.E.L.D. can provide. Doctor Strange, Daisy said. He deals with magical forces that could destroy reality if mishandled. If anyone understands the discipline you need, it's him. Maya had been avoiding the mystical path. Magic seemed unpredictable, dangerous, full of costs and consequences that technology and mutation didn't carry. But Daisy was right, her abilities weren't purely physical. The avatar state connected her to something vast and ancient, a spiritual heritage that transcended universes. "All right," Maya said. "Set up a meeting with Dr. Strange. But I'm not going alone, I want you there, Daisy. And I want the Avengers informed. If I'm going to train with the Sorcerer Supreme, everyone needs to know where I am and what I'm doing." Transparency, Coulson approved. Good instinct. The more factions that know your location and intentions, the less room for suspicion or betrayal. Over the next 2 days, S.H.I.E.L.D. swept the playground for Hydra infiltration. They found 3 compromised agents, 2 surveillance devices disguised as maintenance equipment, and evidence that Hydra had been tracking Maya's movements since the warehouse incident. The attack had been meticulously planned. They'd waited until she was isolated, struck during a shift change when security was thinnest, and deployed weapons specifically designed to counter her abilities. The implications were sobering. Hydra had resources, intelligence networks, and scientific capabilities that rivaled legitimate organizations. And they wanted Maya badly enough to risk a direct assault on a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. "They'll try again," Fury told her during a secure video conference. "Different approach, different timing, but they'll try. You're too valuable, a being who can manipulate elements at the molecular level, with memories spanning millennia and power that scales to cosmic levels. If Hydra could control you, they'd have a weapon capable of reshaping nations." "They can't control me," Maya said flatly. "No, but they can dissect you. Study your physiology. Attempt to replicate your abilities through artificial means." Fury's single eye bored into her through the screen. "You think the super soldier serum was the only enhancement program? Hydra's been experimenting with captured enhanced individuals for decades. They'll cut you open to understand how bending works at the cellular level." Maya felt ice in her veins that had nothing to do with waterbending. "So what do I do? Hide forever? Become an Avenger so I'm too visible to attack? Join S.H.I.E.L.D. officially? You do what you've been doing, you learn. Train. Become so competent that attacking you becomes suicide." Fury leaned forward. "But you also need to understand something, Maya. The Avatar's traditional role was mediation, balance, keeping peace. That's noble. But this universe doesn't reward nobility. It rewards strength. You want to maintain balance. Fine. But balance from a position of power, not idealism." After the conference ended, Maya sat alone in her temporary quarters. They'd moved her 3 times since the attack, thinking about Fury's words. He was right, in a cynical way. The Marvel Universe respected power above all else. Thor commanded respect because he was a god. Iron Man because he built weapons. The X-Men because they could level cities if pushed. Could the Avatar command that kind of respect while still maintaining the principles of balance? She didn't know. But she was about to find out. The meeting with Dr. Strange was scheduled for the following week. In the meantime, Maya continued training with Daisy, but now with a new focus, not just control, but combat application. Daisy pushed her harder, created scenarios that forced split-second decisions, taught her to fight like someone whose life depended on it. Because it did. On the 5th night after the attack, Maya sat in meditation, reaching for the wisdom of her past lives. They offered varied counsel. Aang urged compassion, reminded her that every life was sacred. Korra advised strength, insisted that protecting others sometimes required violence. Roku spoke of balance between extremes, of understanding that the Avatar walked a razor's edge between peace and war. And deeper still, in voices she couldn't quite distinguish, older Avatars whispered of cycles, how every generation faced unique challenges, how the Avatar adapted to the world's needs rather than imposing fixed solutions, how balance was a verb, not a noun. She was the Avatar in a universe that had never needed one before. That meant she could define what the Avatar became here. Not a warrior, though she would fight when necessary. Not a politician, though she would engage with power structures. Not a deity, though she wielded cosmic forces. Something new. Something this universe had never seen. A bridge between factions that couldn't communicate. A neutral ground where enemies could negotiate. A force that answered to no government, no organization, no agenda except the preservation of balance itself. It was ambitious. Possibly naive. Probably dangerous. But it was her path. Maya opened her eyes as dawn light filtered through her window. Tomorrow, she would meet Dr. Strange and begin learning how to control the Avatar state. Tomorrow, she would take another step toward understanding her role in this universe. Tonight, she practiced. Water, earth, fire, air, each element flowed through her movements as she performed forms from a dozen lifetimes. The elements responded with increasing precision, as if the universe itself was acknowledging her commitment. The Sanctum Sanctorum somewhere in the darkness beyond the playground's walls, Hydra regrouped and planned their next attempt. Mystical energy other forces, contained behind some she knew about, others still hidden. Maya felt it from a block away, a resonance that the Avatar had announced herself to the Marvel Universe through her mere existence. Every culture had mystical traditions. Now she had to prove she deserved to exist at all. Touched powers beyond the physical. But this was different. Stronger. More deliberate. You sure about this? Daisy asked as they approached the ornate door. Doctor Strange is intense. And his world makes S.H.I.E.L.D. look simple by comparison. I need to understand the spiritual side of my abilities, Maya said. The bending is physical, but the Avatar state is something else. It's a connection to every past life, to the cosmic cycle of reincarnation. If anyone in this universe understands that, it's the Sorcerer Supreme. The door opened before they could knock. A man in crimson robes stood in the doorway. Not Doctor Strange, but someone who radiated competent mystical power. Wong, Maya recalled from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s files. The Sanctum's librarian and Strange's closest ally. Maya Chen. Daisy Johnson. You're expected. Wong's expression was carefully neutral. The doctor has been anticipating this meeting. Please, follow me. The interior defied physics. Rooms connected in impossible ways. Staircases led to dimensions that shouldn't exist within the building's footprint. Artifacts from 1,000 cultures lined the walls, each humming with contained power. Maya's bending reacted to the ambient magic, elements responding to energies they recognized on some fundamental level. They found Dr. Strange in what appeared to be a meditation chamber, circular room, windows that showed impossible vistas, a floating platform at the center. Strange himself was exactly as portrayed in news coverage. Goatee, mystical amulet, commanding presence, hands that trembled slightly from old injuries. The Avatar, Strange said without preamble. His voice carried authority earned through mastery rather than arrogance. A being who shouldn't exist in this universe, yet does. The Ancient One predicted your arrival 3 years before it happened. She left me a message, when the will turns sideways, teach the child to spin without falling. He studied Maya with eyes that saw more than physical reality. I've spent considerable time trying to understand what that means. Did you figure it out? Maya asked. I have theories. Please, sit. Strange gestured, and cushions materialized beneath them. Your abilities operate on principles that parallel magic but aren't quite the same. You manipulate elements at a fundamental level, not through spells or borrowed power, but through direct connection to the forces themselves. That suggests your consciousness exists simultaneously in multiple states of reality. Past lives, Maya confirmed. Thousands of years of memories, skills, and experiences. All accessible, all part of who I am. Strange's expression shifted to fascination. Reincarnation is theoretically possible, the soul as energy that transitions between physical forms. But maintaining continuous memory across incarnations? That's unprecedented. It suggests your consciousness isn't bound by typical limitations of mortal existence. He leaned forward. Tell me, when you access the avatar state, what do you experience? Maya considered how to explain it. It's like becoming more than myself. My individual personality remains, but I'm also connected to every avatar who came before. Their knowledge, their power, their presence all flowing through me simultaneously. It's overwhelming. If I'm not careful, I lose myself in that collective consciousness. And that's why you're here, Strange said. You need to learn how to maintain individual identity while channeling cosmic power. Fortunately, that's something I have extensive experience with. He raised his hand, and golden geometric patterns manifested in the air, the eye of Agamotto at his chest pulsed with green light. I channel energies from dimensions beyond normal reality. If I lose focus, those energies could consume me or worse, breach into our world and cause catastrophic damage. Discipline is the only barrier between mastery and annihilation. Daisy, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. So you're saying Maya's situation is similar to yours? Cosmic power that requires constant control. Similar, but more complex. My power comes from external sources, dimensional energies, mystical artifacts, learned spells. Maya's power is intrinsic. She is the avatar. The power doesn't flow through her, it is her. Strange stood, pacing around the floating platform. Which makes her situation more dangerous. If I lose control, I can sever my connection to mystical energies. If Maya loses control, she loses herself. Maya felt a chill. That can happen. The avatar state could take over permanently. Your past lives suggest it's possible. The avatar state represents collective consciousness, every previous incarnation merged into one overwhelming presence. Your individual identity, Maya Chen, is new. 19 years old compared to millennia of accumulated experience. In a battle between your singular self and the collective weight of your past, which do you think would win? The answer was obvious. And terrifying. But that hasn't happened, Maya protested. I've touched the avatar state multiple times. I've always come back to myself. Because you haven't fully entered it yet, Strange said gently. You've brushed the edges, accessed fragments of power. But a true avatar state, complete merging with all your past lives, that's something you've instinctively avoided. Your subconscious knows it's dangerous. Maya thought back to the Hydra attack. She'd almost let the avatar state take over, almost surrendered to that overwhelming power. Only fear had held her back. Fear of what she might become if she stopped being Maya Chen. So how do I learn to control it, she asked. Strange smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. Painfully. Follow me. He led them deeper into the sanctum, through corridors that twisted through space, past chambers where reality itself seemed negotiable. They arrived at a room that was simultaneously vast and intimate, dimensions folding in on themselves to create space that shouldn't exist. This is a training chamber, Strange explained. Time flows differently here. An hour inside equals minutes outside. More importantly, it's shielded from reality. If you lose control, the damage stays contained. He turned to Daisy. Agent Johnson, I'd like you to remain outside. What happens here involves forces that could harm you. Daisy looked ready to argue, but Maya nodded. I'll be okay. This is something I need to do alone. After Daisy reluctantly left, Strange created a protective circle of golden energy around the chamber's perimeter. The exercise is simple in concept, difficult in execution. You'll enter the avatar state voluntarily. Fully. Completely. And then you'll maintain your individual consciousness while experiencing the collective weight of your past lives. That doesn't sound simple, Maya said. It's not. Most practitioners of advanced mysticism spend decades learning to maintain identity while channeling cosmic forces. You're attempting it after less than 2 weeks of awareness. Strange's expression was serious. This will hurt, Maya. Mentally, spiritually, possibly physically. If at any point you feel yourself disappearing into the collective, fight to remember who you are. Your name. Your life. The person you were before awakening as the avatar. Maya took a deep breath. What if I can't come back? Then I'll pull you out. Forcibly if necessary. I've dealt with possession, dimensional intrusion, and consciousness manipulation. Retrieving someone from their own past lives is well within my capabilities. He paused. But I'd rather you succeed on your own. The avatar state is your birthright. You shouldn't need rescue from yourself. Maya moved to the center of the chamber, assuming a meditation stance she'd learned from Aang's memories. She centered herself, controlled her breathing, felt the elements responding to her presence. Then she stopped holding back. The avatar state had always been there, waiting, patient. Now she reached for it deliberately, throwing open doors she'd kept carefully closed. Power flooded through her, not just her own bending, but the accumulated mastery of countless lives. Every technique, every battle, every triumph and failure of every avatar who'd ever existed poured into her consciousness. Maya's eyes glowed with pure white light. The elements erupted around her in a maelstrom of controlled chaos. Air, water, earth, and fire danced in patterns that represented 12,000 years of continuous practice. But Maya Chen was drowning. She felt herself fragmenting, individual identity dissolving into the collective. She was Aang, was Korra, was Roku, was 100 others whose names she'd never learned. Each life demanded attention, each memory fought for dominance, and Maya, just Maya, the college student from Queens, was being erased under the weight of accumulated existence. No. The thought came from deep within, from a part of herself that refused to disappear. She was Maya Chen. 19 years old. Liked quantum physics and terrible ramen. Had a roommate who worried about her. Wanted to make her parents proud. Those experiences mattered. That life mattered. The past lives raged against her assertion of individuality. They'd been the avatar longer. Knew more. Had earned their place in the cycle. What right did this brief new incarnation have to claim primacy? Because I'm alive, Maya thought with fierce determination. You had your time. Now it's mine. She felt the shift. The past lives didn't disappear, they couldn't, they were part of her, but they settled. Became accessible rather than overwhelming. Knowledge without dominance. Experience without erasure. Maya opened her eyes, still glowing, still channeling the avatar state, but herself. Individual consciousness maintained while cosmic power flowed through her. Good, Strange's voice cut through the elemental storm. Now hold it. Don't let either side win, not the collective, not the individual. Find the balance between past and present. Balance. That was what the avatar represented. And if she couldn't find balance within herself, how could she maintain it in the universe? Maya held the avatar state for what felt like hours. Time was meaningless in this chamber. She cycled through techniques from a dozen lifetimes, each one perfect, each one distinctly hers. The glow in her eyes remained constant, but her mind stayed clear. Finally, deliberately, she released the state. The power didn't fade, it was always part of her, but she stopped actively channeling it. The elements settled. The glow dimmed. She returned fully to being Maya Chen, though forever changed by the experience. She collapsed, exhausted. Strange caught her with a spell before she hit the ground, lowering her gently. How long? Maya gasped. 14 hours inside this chamber. 20 minutes outside. Strange offered her water, which she drank gratefully. You did remarkably well for your first attempt. Most practitioners fail completely on their initial try, or worse, lose themselves and require extraction. It was harder than fighting Hydrae, Maya admitted. Fighting external threats is simple. Fighting yourself? She shook her head. That's where the real battle happens. Strange nodded approvingly. You understand. Good. This universe is filled with external threats, gods, aliens, cosmic entities. But the greatest danger to someone with your power is always internal. Lose control of yourself, and you become the threat everyone fears. Over the following days, Maya returned to the sanctum repeatedly. Each session pushed her further into the avatar state, teaching her to maintain consciousness while channeling power that could reshape continents. Strange taught her meditation techniques from mystical traditions spanning millennia. Wong provided historical context, showing her texts about beings who'd wielded cosmic forces in ages past. But the most valuable lesson came from Strange himself. Power isn't measured by how much you can destroy, he told her during one session. It's measured by how much you can protect. The avatar state makes you immensely powerful. Use that power not to dominate, but to preserve. Not to conquer, but to mediate. The universe has enough destroyers. It needs builders. Maya absorbed that wisdom, adding it to the accumulated knowledge of her past lives. She was beginning to understand her role in this universe, not as warrior or weapon, but as something this reality had never seen before. A being capable of standing between factions, understanding all perspectives, maintaining balance through strength rather than neutrality. On her final training day at the sanctum, Strange presented her with a gift, a small crystal that glowed with soft blue light. This is a meditation focus, he explained. When you need to center yourself, when the weight of your past lives becomes overwhelming, focus on this. It will anchor you to your present identity. He met her eyes seriously. You're walking a difficult path, Maya. The Avatar's traditional role was mediation, but this universe demands more. You'll face situations where balance requires taking stands, where neutrality becomes complicity. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. And remember. The fact that you struggle with these decisions proves you're worthy of the power you wield. Maya held the crystal carefully. Thank you, Dr. Strange. For the training, for the wisdom, for not treating me like a threat. Oh, you are a threat, Strange said with a slight smile. But threats come in many forms. Some threaten existence. Others threaten stagnation. You, I suspect, threaten the comfortable divisions this universe has maintained. You'll force heroes and villains alike to question their assumptions about balance and power. His expression grew serious again. That's going to make you enemies. Be prepared for that. Maya nodded. She'd already made enemies, Hydra, and likely others watching from the shadows. But she'd also found allies. S.H.I.E.L.D., the Avengers, the X-Men, and now Doctor Strange himself. The Avatar had arrived in the Marvel Universe. She'd trained with its greatest heroes and mystics. She'd learned control, gained understanding, and begun to forge her own path. Now came the hard part, actually walking that path in a universe that wasn't ready for her. The United Nations Summit happened 3 weeks after Maya's training with Doctor Strange. She watched the live broadcast from the playground's common room, surrounded by S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who understood exactly what was at stake. The Sokovia Accords, Secretary of State Thaddeus Ross announced to the assembled nations, represent a necessary step toward accountability for enhanced individuals. Recent events, Sokovia, Lagos, New York, have demonstrated that unchecked superhuman activity, however well-intentioned, results in civilian casualties and international incidents. The accords establish oversight, requiring enhanced individuals to register with the UN and operate under sanctioned protocols. Maya felt her stomach tighten. This was it. The moment Doctor Strange had warned her about, when neutrality became impossible. They're going to come for you, Daisy said quietly beside her. Enhanced individual, no government affiliation, powers that could level cities. You're exactly who these accords are designed to control. I'm not a weapon, Maya said. I'm the avatar. I maintain balance. That requires independence from governmental oversight. Try explaining that to the UN. Daisy's expression was grim. Maya, I've seen this before. After I got my powers, S.H.I.E.L.D. tried to contain me, control me, use me. Governments fear what they can't regulate. You represent something they've never encountered, a cosmic force with individual agency. They'll want to cage that. On screen, the debate intensified. Some nations argued for strict regulation. Others warned against infringing on individual rights. The Avengers were specifically mentioned. Tony Stark had apparently been involved in drafting the accords, while others on the team were rumored to oppose them. The divide was forming. And Maya would have to choose which side of it she stood on. The call came that evening. Not from S.H.I.E.L.D., not from the Avengers, but from Secretary Ross himself. Miss Chen, his voice carried through the secure line with bureaucratic authority. I'm sure you're aware of the Sokovia Accords. As an enhanced individual currently residing in a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility, you fall under their jurisdiction. I'd like to arrange a meeting to discuss your registration and operational parameters. Maya chose her words carefully. I appreciate the invitation, Secretary Ross. But I need to understand something first. The Avatar's role is to maintain balance between competing forces. If I register with one government, even the UN, I lose the neutrality necessary to fulfill that role. Miss Chen, with respect, this isn't a request. It's international law. Enhanced individuals who refuse to register will be considered rogue operatives and subject to arrest. Ross's tone hardened. I've reviewed S.H.I.E.L.D.'s reports on your capabilities. You're potentially one of the most dangerous individuals on the planet. The world deserves assurance that you won't become a threat. I'm not a threat, Maya said, but even as the words left her mouth, she knew they rang hollow. She was dangerous. Anyone with her power was dangerous. The question wasn't whether she could destroy, but whether she would. Then prove it. Register. Submit to oversight. Demonstrate that you're willing to operate within established international frameworks. Ross paused. Or refuse, and become exactly the kind of unaccountable power the Accords were designed to address. After the call ended, Maya sat in silence. Coulson appeared in the doorway, expression troubled. You're not going to register, he said. It wasn't a question. I can't. The moment I submit to governmental oversight, I stop being the avatar and become an asset. A tool for whatever nation or alliance controls my registration. Maya looked at him. You understand that, right? Balance requires standing outside the power structures I'm meant to mediate between. Coulson nodded slowly. I understand. I also understand that refusing makes you a fugitive. The Accords have teeth, Maya. Nations will enforce them. And S.H.I.E.L.D. He sighed. S.H.I.E.L.D. will be pressured to either detain you or release you to UN custody. So what do I do? You make a choice that the Avatar has never had to make before, you pick a side in a conflict with no clear right answer. Coulson sat across from her. The Accords aren't inherently evil. There's legitimate reasoning behind them. Enhanced individuals have caused catastrophic damage. Oversight could prevent future disasters. But oversight also means control, and control means someone decides when and how you use your abilities. Maya thought about her training, her experiences over the past month. She'd met heroes who genuinely wanted to help people. She'd encountered villains who'd exploit any power for personal gain. And in between, she'd found thousands of normal people just trying to survive in a universe where gods fought in their streets. What's Tony Stark's position? She asked. Supporting the Accords. He feels responsible for Ultron, for Sokovia. He thinks oversight will prevent future mistakes. Coulson pulled up a tablet, showing her news coverage. Captain America opposes them. He doesn't trust governments to make the right calls in crisis situations. The Avengers are splitting down the middle. Of course they were. Because this universe didn't offer simple answers. The message from Steve Rogers arrived the next day, delivered through encrypted SHIELD channels. It was brief, direct, and exactly what Maya expected. Maya, I know you're being pressured to sign the accords. Don't. Governments change. Politics shift. But your conscience is yours alone. If you truly believe in balance, you can't let anyone dictate how you maintain it. There are those of us who believe freedom matters more than control. If you need help, if you need sanctuary, reach out. Steve *. The countermessage from Tony Stark came an hour later, via Jarvis directly to her tablet. Hey Avatar, Tony here. Heard you're on the fence about the accords. I get it, independence sounds great in theory. But here's reality, unchecked power leads to catastrophic mistakes. I've made them. The team's made them. Oversight isn't about control, it's about accountability. Sign the accords. Work within the system. Prove that enhanced individuals can be responsible. Or refuse, and watch public opinion turn against everyone with abilities. Your call. But think about what happens to the X-Men, to all the kids with powers, if the world decides we're too dangerous to exist without oversight. T.S. *. Both messages were sincere. Both presented valid arguments. Both wanted her to choose their side. And both were asking her to abandon neutrality. Maya spent that night in meditation, reaching for the wisdom of her past lives. She found varied counsel, as always. Some avatars had worked within governmental structures, advising kings and councils. Others had operated independently, stepping in only when balance was threatened. None had faced a situation quite like this, a world government trying to regulate cosmic forces through bureaucratic means. The decision crystallized during a training session with Daisy 3 days later. They were working on combat applications of bending when alarms blared throughout the playground. Situation developing in Manhattan, Coulson's voice crackled over the intercom. Enhanced individual fight escalating. Multiple casualties reported. All available agents respond. Daisy was moving before Coulson finished speaking. Maya followed, her training kicking in automatically. They reached the armory where agents were gearing up, receiving tactical briefings. It's Electro, an agent reported, pulling up footage on a holographic display. Max Dillon, low-level supervillain, electrical manipulation. He's robbing a bank and things went sideways. 3 Spider-Man showed up. Wait, 3. Maya interrupted. Long story. Multiverse stuff. Point is, the fight's attracting more players. Shocker just arrived. So did some new vigilante in a red suit. It's turning into a war zone. The footage showed civilians running, buildings damaged, electricity arcing between combatants. Coulson turned to Maya. You're not officially a SHIELD agent. You haven't signed the accords. Technically, you participating in this situation would be illegal under the new international framework. People are getting hurt, Maya said simply. Yes. And if you intervene without authorization, you're proving Secretary Ross right. That enhanced individuals operate without accountability. Coulson's expression was unreadable. Or you can stay here, follow protocol, and watch people die while bureaucrats debate jurisdiction. The choice hung in the air. Follow the rules and remain compliant, or break the rules and save lives. Maya was out the door before anyone could stop her. She reached Manhattan within minutes, using airbending to propel herself across rooftops faster than any vehicle. The fight had spread across 2 city blocks, electrical blasts, sonic attacks, webbing everywhere, and in the middle of it all, terrified civilians trying to escape. Maya dropped into the chaos without announcing herself. She didn't attack the combatants, instead, she focused on protection. Earth rose from the street to shield civilians from electrical discharge. Water from fire hydrants formed barriers against sonic waves. Air currents redirected dangerous attacks away from bystanders. One of the Spider-Men, teenager, homemade suit, landed beside her. "Whoa, are you the Avatar? That's so cool. I've seen the footage, you're like, bending multiple elements at once, that's..." Focus. Maya created a wall of stone that blocked an incoming electrical blast. "Get the civilians to safety." "Right. On it." Spider-Man swung away, scooping up a child who'd been separated from their parents. Electro noticed Maya immediately. "Another hero? How many of you people are there?" Lightning arced from his hands toward her. Maya didn't dodge. She redirected it, channeling the electricity through her body the way she'd learned during the Hydra attack. The lightning flowed harmlessly into the ground, dispersing through metal infrastructure. "That's not possible," Electro breathed. "Nobody can redirect my power. I'm not nobody." Maya swept her arms in a wide arc. Water from broken mains rose around Electro, forming a sphere that trapped him. She flash froze it before he could react, encasing him in ice that disrupted his electrical field. The shocker tried to blast her from behind. Maya sensed the sonic attack through vibrations in the air and earth. She turned, creating a vacuum sphere around Shocker that absorbed the sonic energy. Without air to transmit sound, his weapons became useless. "Okay, that's actually really cool," the red-suited vigilante commented, flipping over a car to land beside her. "Deadpool, by the way. Huge fan of your work. Any chance you're single? Because I feel like we'd make a great team." "Not the time," Maya said, releasing Shocker from the vacuum just long enough for Spider-Man to web him up properly. S.H.I.E.L.D. arrived 5 minutes later, followed closely by police and emergency services. Coulson emerged from a vehicle, taking in the scene, civilians safe, villains contained, and Maya standing in the middle of it all. "You intervened," he said quietly. "People needed help. And Secretary Ross is going to use this as proof that you're exactly the kind of unregulated threat the Accords are meant to address." Coulson's expression was conflicted. "Maya, you just violated international law in front of 50 witnesses and countless cameras." "Then I guess I've made my choice," Maya said. She felt calm, centered in a way she hadn't since awakening as the Avatar. "I'm not signing the Accords. I'm not submitting to oversight. The Avatar maintains balance, and that requires the freedom to act when lives are at stake, not when bureaucrats grant permission." "You know what this means," Coulson said. "It means I'm on Captain America's side of this divide. It means I'm choosing freedom over control, even if that makes me a fugitive." Maya looked at the civilians being treated by EMTs, at the Spider-Men helping coordinate evacuations, at the city that had been threatened and was now safe. "I can live with being a criminal if the alternative is standing by while people suffer." Coulson was silent for a long moment. Then, quietly, S.H.I.E.L.D. can't officially support your decision. But unofficially. He handed her a small device. "Emergency beacon. If you need extraction, if you're in real danger, activate it. Some of us still believe that doing the right thing matters more than following unjust laws." Maya took the beacon, understanding what Coulson was risking by giving it to her. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You just painted a target on yourself bigger than anything Hydra could create. Governments will hunt you. Pro-Accord heroes will try to bring you in. And the public?" He gestured to the cameras documenting the aftermath. "They'll be divided. Some will call you a hero. Others will call you a dangerous vigilante. Welcome to the world of uncompromising principles, Avatar. It's a lonely place." The footage went viral within hours. "Avatar violates Sokovia Accords, saves civilians," read some headlines. Dangerous enhanced individual operates without oversight. Read others. Maya watched the debate unfold from a safe house Daisy had helped her secure, not a shield facility, but a small apartment in Brooklyn that belonged to a friend who understood what it meant to be different. Steve Rogers called that night. "You made your choice," he said, and Maya could hear the approval in his voice. That took courage. But courage isn't enough. If you're going to oppose the Accords, you need to be ready for what comes next. They'll send teams after you. They'll try to capture you, force you to register. You'll need allies. Are you offering? Maya asked. I'm offering information. There are others who oppose the Accords. We're organizing, quietly, building a network of people who believe freedom matters more than control. If you want in, I can make introductions. Steve paused. But Maya, understand what you're joining. This isn't a political movement. It's a resistance. We're standing against the combined weight of international governments. That's not a position you can walk away from once you commit. Maya thought about balance, about the Avatar's role, about what it meant to stand between opposing forces. She'd thought neutrality was the answer. But she'd been wrong. Balance didn't mean standing aside, it meant standing up, choosing sides when necessary, fighting for principles that mattered. I'm in, she said. But I'm not just joining your side, Captain. I'm forging my own path. I'll work with you when our goals align, but the Avatar answers to balance, not to any faction. That includes yours. Steve's laugh was surprised but genuine. Fair enough. Welcome to the Resistance, Avatar. Try to stay out of jail. The next morning, Maya woke to find Daisy at her door with coffee and a tablet displaying news coverage. You're trending, Daisy said, handing her the coffee. #1 globally. Everyone has an opinion about you. The X-Men released a statement supporting your choice to remain independent. The Avengers are officially divided, Tony's calling for your arrest, Steve's refusing to comment. Doctor Strange told a reporter that cosmic forces don't recognize governmental jurisdiction. It's chaos. Good, Maya said, surprising herself. Balance requires disruption sometimes. This universe has gotten comfortable with its divisions, Avengers versus villains, humans versus mutants, magic versus science. Maybe the Avatar's purpose here is to make everyone uncomfortable, force them to question their assumptions. That's a bold strategy, Daisy said. Also potentially suicidal. But I respect it. She set down the tablet. I'm with you, by the way. I've been where you are, powers I didn't ask for, governments wanting to control me, having to choose between compliance and conviction. You're making the right call. What about S.H.I.E.L.D.? Maya asked. S.H.I.E.L.D's complicated. Officially, we're neutral on the Accords. Unofficially, we're as divided as everyone else. Coulson's trying to walk a tightrope. Following the law while protecting people he believes are doing the right thing. Daisy's expression turned serious. But Maya, you need to prepare for the next step. The Accords aren't going away. Secretary Ross isn't going to forget that you publicly defied international law. Someone's coming for you. The only question is who and when. The answer came sooner than either of them expected. That afternoon, while Maya was training in a remote warehouse Daisy had secured, Iron Man descended from the sky. The armored figure landed with characteristic theatrical flair, repulsors glowing, faceplates snapping up to reveal Tony Stark's concerned expression. We need to talk, Tony said. And before you start bending, I'm not here to arrest you. Well, technically I am. But I'd rather convince you first. Maya didn't lower her defensive stance, elements swirling around her in response to the perceived threat. Convince me of what? That I should give up my freedom for the illusion of safety? Convince you that what you're doing, noble as it might feel, is going to get people killed. Tony deactivated his armor's weapons systems in a gesture of good faith. Look, I get it. Independence, autonomy, the right to follow your conscience. Great principles. But principles don't stop catastrophes. Oversight does. Accountability does. Registration does. Registration led to internment camps for mutants, Maya countered. Accountability becomes a weapon to punish people for being different. Oversight means someone else decides when lives are worth saving. And independence means you decide, Tony shot back. One person, however powerful, however well-intentioned, making choices that affect millions. How is that better? At least with oversight, there's checks and balances. Debate. Multiple perspectives. Multiple bureaucrats delaying action while people die, Maya said. I saw that fight in Manhattan, Tony. I could end it in minutes. How long would it have taken a UN committee to authorize intervention? How many more civilians would have been hurt while they debated jurisdiction? Tony's expression shifted, frustration mixed with something like respect. You sound like Steve. All passion, no pragmatism. The world's more complicated than help people when they need help. Actions have consequences. Unregulated vigilantism creates precedent. Today you stop a robbery. Tomorrow, someone with less noble intentions decides they know better than governments, than laws, than democratic consensus. Where does it end? Where does control end? Maya challenged. You register enhanced individuals today. Tomorrow, you're monitoring mutants. Next week, you're restricting anyone who might pose a threat. Fear-based regulation always leads to oppression. History proves it. They stood in silence, two people who both wanted to protect the world, approaching from completely opposite directions. I'm not going to bring you in, Tony said finally. Not today. But Maya, you need to understand, this divide isn't going away. The Avengers are fracturing. Heroes are choosing sides. The conflict erupted 3 weeks later at an abandoned Hydra facility in Siberia, and Maya wasn't supposed to be there. Which battle you're fighting. But she'd learned to trust her instincts, the same instincts that had guided avatars for 12,000 years, and those instincts had screamed that something catastrophic was about to happen. Which means I might She arrived to find the Avengers at war with each other. Tony's laugh was Iron Man, War Machine, Black Widow, Vision, and Black Panther on one side. Kid. Captain America, Falcon, Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, and Ant-Man on the other. The fight had already begun, repulsor blasts against shields, arrows against armor, reality-warping energy colliding with technological innovation. Maya landed between them with enough force to crack the permafrost, all 4 elements erupting simultaneously in a display of power that made everyone stop and stare. Enough. Her voice carried the weight of 1,000 lifetimes. You're tearing each other apart over a philosophical disagreement while real threats are gathering in the shadows. Maya, this doesn't concern you, Tony's voice crackled through his armor speakers. This is between. This concerns everyone. Maya gestured at the devastation already evident, broken equipment, scorch marks, blood on the ice. You're Earth's mightiest heroes. The world looks to you for protection. And you're fighting each other instead of the real enemies. The real enemy is unaccountable power, Tony said. Which includes you, by the way. You're wanted for violating the Sokovia Accords. I could arrest you right now. Try it, Steve challenged, shield ready. She's not the enemy, Tony. The Accords are. And I'm not letting you weaponize the law to. An explosion rocked the facility. Not from the fighting heroes, but from deeper inside the structure. Through her earth-bending, Maya felt something awakening, massive, powerful, and utterly wrong. What was that? Natasha asked, weapons trained on the facility entrance. Hydra's fail-safe, Maya realized with growing horror. They booby-trapped this place. All your fighting, all the energy discharge from your abilities, you've been triggering their systems. Another explosion. The ice beneath them cracked ominously. Everyone out, Steve ordered. Now. They weren't fast enough. The facility erupted. Not with conventional explosives, but with Chitauri energy weapons that Hydra had been stockpiling. Blue plasma tore through the structure, melting ice, collapsing support beams, creating a cascade of destruction that threatened to bury everyone present. Maya didn't think. She acted. The avatar state erupted fully, completely, with none of the hesitation she'd shown before. Her eyes blazed with pure white light as cosmic power flooded through her consciousness. Every past life surged forward, offering their mastery, their experience, their absolute determination to protect life. Earth rose in massive walls, containing the explosions. Water from melting ice formed barriers that absorbed plasma blasts. Air pressure controlled the blast waves, redirecting force away from the combatants. And fire met fire, plasma meeting elemental fury in a collision of fundamental forces. But it wasn't enough. The facility was collapsing faster than she could contain it, and worse, the Chitauri energy was reacting unpredictably to her bending. The weapons had been designed to fight in space, against enemies who didn't manipulate elements at the molecular level. Her interference was creating feedback loops, escalating the destruction. "I can't hold it," Maya gasped, her individual consciousness struggling to maintain control while channeling cosmic power. "There's too much." "You're not alone," Steve said, and suddenly the Avengers were working together again. Iron Man's repulsor stabilized a collapsing support beam. Captain America's shield deflected debris. Scarlet Witch's reality-warping powers contained explosions. Vision phased through walls to rescue trapped personnel. For a brief moment, they weren't two factions at war. They were a team. But the respite didn't last. A final massive explosion tore through the facility's core, and Maya felt the permafrost beneath them beginning to fracture. They were standing on a glacier that was about to become an avalanche, with frigid ocean waters waiting below. The Avatar state offered a solution. A terrible solution. She could unleash her full power. Stop holding back. Become the cosmic force her past lives represented and simply command the elements to obey. Ice would stay frozen. Earth would remain solid. The explosions would cease because she willed them to cease. But that power came with a cost. She'd felt it during training with Doctor Strange, the danger of losing herself completely, of becoming nothing but the collective consciousness of every avatar who'd ever existed. Maya Chen would disappear, consumed by millennia of accumulated identity. "There has to be another way," she whispered. "There isn't," Aang's voice echoed in her mind, or perhaps her own memory of his wisdom. "Sometimes balance requires sacrifice. The question is whether you're willing to make it." Maya looked at the heroes around her, flawed people trying their best to save a complicated world. They'd made mistakes. They'd hurt each other. But they were still fighting to protect innocent lives. That's what the Avatar did. Regardless of the cost. She let go. The Avatar state consumed her completely. Maya Chen's individual consciousness became a whisper in the collective roar of 12,000 years of reincarnation. Power beyond mortal comprehension flooded through her body, and reality itself bent to accommodate forces it was never meant to contain. The explosions stopped. Not gradually, but instantly. Chitauri energy simply ceased to exist in her presence, broken down to harmless particles by bending that operated on fundamental universal constants. The ice stabilized, strengthened at the molecular level until it could support mountains. Earth rose from the ocean floor beneath them, creating a new foundation where none had existed before. And Maya stood at the center of it all, glowing with cosmic light, no longer fully human, something vast and ancient wearing a young woman's form. The Avengers stared in awe and terror. "What is she?" War Machine whispered. "Something beyond us," Vision said quietly. His mind stone resonated with the power Maya was channeling. "I'm detecting energy signatures that shouldn't exist in this dimensional frequency." She's not just manipulating elements, she's imposing order on chaos at a fundamental level. That's... He trailed off. That's impossible. But it was happening. And it was attracting attention from entities far more powerful than any Avenger. In the dark dimension, Dormammu stirred. In Asgard, Heimdall's all-seeing eyes widened with recognition. In the quantum realm, beings of pure energy took notice. Across the cosmos, forces that existed beyond human understanding turned their attention toward Earth, drawn by the Avatar state's cosmic signature. Something's wrong. Doctor Strange's astral form materialized beside the Avengers, his physical body still in the sanctum but his consciousness projected across continents. She's burning too bright. Every mystical entity in the universe just felt that power spike. Maya's announced herself to things that make Thanos look insignificant. Can you pull her back? Steve asked urgently. Strange was already trying, golden geometric patterns forming around Maya in attempts to create a mystical anchor to her individual identity. But the Avatar state resisted his interference, seeing it as a threat to the balance it was maintaining. She's too deep, Strange said grimly. The collective consciousness has taken over. Maya Chen is still in there, but she's drowning in 12,000 years of Avatar presence. If she doesn't find her way back herself, she's lost, Tony finished. We'll be dealing with a cosmic entity in a human body. Great. As if today wasn't complicated enough. But they'd underestimated Maya, or perhaps they'd underestimated the strength of will it took to become the Avatar in the first place. Deep within the cosmic storm of collective consciousness, Maya Chen held on to herself. It was harder than anything she'd ever done. The weight of centuries crushed down on her individual identity, trying to subsume 19 years into 12,000. But she fought back with everything she had, memories of her roommate's laugh, the taste of cheap ramen, her parents' pride when she got her scholarship, the feeling of being just Maya, just herself, not a cosmic force or ancient spirit. I am Maya Chen, asterisk she thought with desperate clarity. Asterisk I am the Avatar, but I am also me. And I'm not disappearing. Not today, asterisk. The Avatar state wavered. Power fluctuated. And slowly, painfully, Maya clawed her way back to individual consciousness. Her eyes dimmed from cosmic white to merely glowing. The elements settled from impossible displays to merely extraordinary control. And Maya Chen, exhausted, terrified, but herself, collapsed into the snow. Steve caught her before she hit the ground. Easy. You're okay. You came back. Did I? Maya's voice was hoarse. Feels like I left pieces of myself scattered across 12,000 years. Doctor Strange's astral form knelt beside her. You did remarkably well. Most beings who channel that level of cosmic power never return to individual consciousness. The fact that you fought your way back proves your will is stronger than even the Avatar collective. Doesn't feel strong, Maya whispered. Feels like I almost ceased to exist. But you didn't, Strange said firmly. Remember that. When you doubt yourself, when the power seems overwhelming, remember that you chose to come back. That's the difference between wielding cosmic forces and being consumed by them. Around them, the Avengers stood in uncomfortable silence. The facility was saved. The immediate crisis was over. But nothing was resolved. They'd still been fighting each other. They still disagreed fundamentally about the Accords, about accountability, about the role of heroes in society. And now they'd witnessed the Avatar at full power, something that made all of them, regardless of faction, deeply aware of how insignificant their conflict truly was. So, Tony said finally, faceplate retracting. We all just saw that, right? The cosmic horror show where Maya became a living natural disaster. That's not helping, Tony, Steve said. I'm just saying, she's more powerful than any of us realized. More powerful than Thor, maybe. And she's unregulated, unaccountable, capable of rewriting reality at the elemental level. Tony looked at Maya directly. You see why the Accords matter now? Why power like yours needs oversight? I see why you're scared, Maya said, finding her voice. I'm scared too. But fear doesn't justify control. It justifies training, support, and trust. You want me regulated because I'm powerful. I want freedom because I'm responsible. That's naive, Tony started. No, Steve interrupted. It's principled. And right now, principles are the only thing holding any of us together. They helped Maya to a Quinjet, both factions, working together again out of necessity if not agreement. As they flew away from the ruined facility, Maya felt the aftereffects of the avatar state lingering in her consciousness. She'd touched cosmic power, channeled forces that shouldn't exist in this universe, and survived. But survival came with knowledge she hadn't wanted. During those moments of full avatar state, she'd sense things. Cosmic entities watching Earth. Dimensional barriers weakening. Threats gathering in the shadows while heroes fought each other over ideology. The universe was more fragile than anyone realized. And more dangerous. When they landed at a shield facility for medical evaluation, Maya pulled Steve aside. I felt something, she said quietly. While I was in the avatar state. Something big coming. Not Hydra. Not even Thanos, though he's out there too. Something else. Something that sees Earth as a threat because it's producing too many cosmic-level powers in too short a time. Steve's expression grew serious. You're saying we're attracting attention. I'm saying we've been noticed. And whatever's noticing us isn't friendly. Maya looked at the assembled heroes, Tony's faction glaring at Steve's faction, both sides convinced they were right, neither willing to bridge the gap. This divide between you. It's making Earth vulnerable. If cosmic threats arrive while the Avengers are fractured, while heroes are fighting each other instead of uniting. She didn't need to finish. Steve understood. I'll talk to Tony, he said. We'll find common ground. Somehow. But Maya could see the doubt in his eyes. The Accords had created a schism that speeches couldn't heal. This conflict would have consequences that rippled far beyond any single battle. The Avatar had come to the Marvel Universe to maintain balance. But balance seemed more impossible with each passing day. 3 months after Siberia, Maya Chen stood on the roof of a building in New York and watched the city breathe. She'd learned to sense its rhythms, millions of lives creating patterns in earth and air and water, technology and humanity in constant negotiation. This was balance too, she'd realized. Not perfect harmony, but functional chaos that somehow sustained itself. She wasn't hiding anymore. After Siberia, after every faction had witnessed her cosmic-level power, hiding seemed pointless. Instead, she'd chosen visibility. The Avatar would operate openly, independently, answering to no government or organization. She'd become exactly what she'd promised, a force for balance in a universe that desperately needed it. It hadn't been easy. Secretary Ross had issued warrants. Pro-Accord forces had attempted arrests. But Maya had proven impossible to capture, for elements at her command meant she could disappear into Earth, ride wind currents, merge with water, become one with fire. And the few times they'd cornered her, she'd demonstrated that fighting the Avatar meant fighting someone with 12,000 years of combat experience and cosmic-level power. Eventually, they'd stop trying. Not because they approved, but because the cost exceeded the benefit. The Avengers remained fractured. Tony's faction operated under UN oversight, responding to sanctioned threats with bureaucratic approval. Steve's faction had gone underground, acting as unlicensed heroes helping people when governments failed. Maya worked with both, and neither. She mediated conflicts when possible, intervened in crises when necessary, and maintained the independence she'd fought so hard to preserve. The X-Men had become unexpected allies. Storm visited regularly, training Maya in advanced atmospheric manipulation. Professor Xavier offered counsel on maintaining identity under immense pressure. Wolverine taught her that being a good person sometimes meant making hard choices others couldn't stomach. Doctor Strange had warned her about cosmic attention, and he'd been right. Twice, dimensional entities had tested Earth's defenses. Both times, Maya had been there, avatar state ready, elements answering her call, cosmic power meeting cosmic threat on equal terms. She'd won both confrontations, but at increasing cost to her individual consciousness. Each time she entered the avatar state, coming back became harder. "You're burning yourself out," Daisy had told her after the second incident. "You can't keep channeling that level of power without losing yourself eventually." "Then I'll find another way," Maya had replied. "The avatar adapts. That's the whole point." And she had adapted. Instead of relying on the avatar state's overwhelming power, she'd learned subtlety. Precision. Using minimal force for maximum effect. Redirecting conflicts before they escalated to violence. Building networks of heroes, civilians, and organizations that could maintain balance without needing cosmic intervention.